Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? It's your boy Isaac,
And this is your boy Bryce.
and we are brothers on tennis. And folks, we have been doing a few little excerpts about the All American Cup. And this time we actually have one of the main guys associated with it here today to provide an interview. So, Bryce, I know that we have had interactions with this gentleman in the past. They have always been fantastic. Why don't you cue it up for the folks out there?
Well, I am super excited to say that we are joined today by Mr. Nicholas Monroe, or known as Nick Monroe. This guy has had a storied tennis career. He just retired at the U.S. Open after 18 years on the tour. Four tour doubles titles, quarterfinalist at the 2017 U.S. Open and at the 2020 French Open. And he is now the tournament director for this new event that we're calling the All-American Cup. So we're going to chat it up with Nick today, find out more information about the All-American Cup and from whence it came. So without further ado, we welcome Nick Monroe to Brothers on Tennis.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our absolute pleasure.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. With the All-American Cup, it's been fun kind of putting everything together. It's basically a couple of years ago when we weren't playing any tennis during COVID and trying to figure a way for anyone to play tennis and especially on the American side, we weren't sure when we should train and how we should go about our days. And so basically, one of those things where everyone was doing so well leading into COVID, a lot of the Americans on the single side. And just kind of found a way to figure out, kind of where guys were based or where guys were born. And then I said, you know what, let's kind of look at where guys were born. I've seen an event where it was based on kind of older generation against kind of the younger generation. But then I thought about where guys were born. And it just so happens with 16 guys in the top 100 on the American side, that 8 guys were born on the West Coast, 8 guys were born on the East Coast. And then I thought, man, we can have an all-star match. And, you see that in every other sport, whether it's NHL, MLB, NBA, and never really on the tennis side. So American tennis is flourishing. And it's one of those things where it's just great to celebrate American tennis, right? We've seen Taylor Fritz, 11 in the world, Francis Tiafoe doing his thing at the U.S. Open, and now top 20, Tommy Paul doing his thing. And, you just have so many Americans doing a great job of just kind of holding the flag and young guys, right? Young guys, but then they've learned from the older generation too, if we want to call it older, but John Isner is still doing his thing as well. So, based on the 8 guys from the West and the 8 guys from the East, I thought about, hey, let's try to make it a tournament where we go 5 against 5, and then that's where on the West Coast, you've pretty much got, for the teams are concerned, we've got Taylor Fritz, Marcos Giron, Mackie McDonald, Jensen Brooksby, Steve Johnson, and then also bringing in Sam Querrey as well. And then on the East, we've got Isner, Sock, Tiafoe, Kudla, and JJ Wolf. So all these guys are super pumped to play. Not everyone gets to play Davis Cup. Not everyone gets to play Laver Cup. And not everyone play college tennis. So any kind of team event in tennis is something that I feel like guys look forward to. And so that's why we're excited to have the All-American Cup.
Fantastic. And Nick, let's dig into that a little bit more, because you're saying that you were on the couch and you were just sort of thinking about this. Yeah. I mean, what were your process steps as it relates to kind of pulling this together and even reaching out to all of the gentlemen that you just mentioned?
Yeah. No, I think it was one of those things too, where I didn't know, no one really knew what the ATP schedule was going to look like, just because we were losing tournaments through COVID, just through sponsorship dollars and for, whatever it may be. And so it was like, okay, well, do we find a court in someone's backyard? Like, how do we just make a tournament? So it just kind of came to fruition where I just, literally was on the couch, 2 years ago during COVID. And then I started texting some of the guys. I said, hey, if we do this kind of a tournament where you're on a team and based on where you guys live, would you guys be interested? And they're all like, yeah, man. I mean, of course, this is what, guys love to be on a team cheering for each other. playing for another purpose other than themselves, because we're always on the tour by ourselves, every single week. So to be able to now cheer for each other, and again, American tennis guys are very close. We're a very close knit group. But let's say for a guy like Jensen Brooksby, it was funny when I mentioned it to him. He was like, "Wow, man, do you mean I get to be on a team? Like I've never, he's never been on a team. He never played. He never played college. He hasn't been on Davis Cup yet, which I'm sure he will be, and he hasn't played Labor Cup, which I'm sure he will. But just to finally be on a team with guys that he's played against, guys that he knows, and that just creates a great bond, right? So excited to bring it to San Antonio.
So I have a question with the players. So when you're calling these players and you're trying to, dip your toe in the water with them on whether they'd play or not, it sounds like you had a pretty positive response.
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges you maybe had that things didn't come so easily for you with this All-American Cup?
Yeah, I think that, look, being from Austin, Texas, lived here the last 11 years. And so, personally and selfishly in my mind, I was like, okay, no better place than Austin, Texas to have it. It's right in the middle of East and West. And so, to be fair, we were trying to have it in September here in Austin. With the ATP schedule, there's not a lot of weekends or weeks where you can find time in between the schedule. Like there's tournaments every single week. And obviously as players, we want to go grab those points wherever we can to try to move our world ranking up. And, so I found a week in September, kind of right after US Open. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be great. And then all of a sudden Davis Cup moved their week to that week and weekend, because it was kind of an open weekend. And so then it was like, shoot, we had our venue in Cedar Park and we had everything set. And then we were thinking, okay, shoot, we got to move it to November, basically after the Paris Masters, because after the Paris Masters kind of leads into only the top 8 tournament or the next gen final. So we moved it to November, and then we lost our venue in Austin, because basically we had it in September. Then when you move it to November, we had a venue that was a hockey arena. So then basically in November they have hockey games, and they said, look, we can't do it. And lucky enough for us, our main sponsors being Valero Oil Company, HEB, which is a big grocery store here in Texas, and Frost Bank, a prominent bank, are our main sponsors, and they're based in San Antonio. So then they said, look, let's see what we can kind of pull off. And they were able to find the Freeman Coliseum, which is pretty much in the parking lot of the AT&T Center, which is where the San Antonio Spurs play. And so Freeman was able to open the date for us. They had maybe a concert that was wanting to kind of have that date, but they were able to open it for the tennis. San Antonio is such a big tennis community. They love their sports. And yeah, that was kind of the biggest obstacle there as far as date was concerned. And then with the players, look, I've been on tour 18 years. I know all of the players. I've played doubles with most of them from Isner and Sock and Query and Tiafo and Tommy Paul. And I played doubles with most of the Americans, right? So to be able to have that kind of connection with everyone, being 40 years old and a lot of these players being 23, 24, just being able to have that connection was big for them to kind of understand that, look, I'm wanting to create an event that celebrates American tennis, brings you guys together, and just brings another light to the sport that I think is needed and people want.
Absolutely. And I would imagine that they, throughout their beginnings of their career, they probably looked up to you and you mentored them. So that relationship is probably, a lot that went into that as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, again, I played doubles with Francis Tiafo all of last year, and then we played the beginning of this year together, and just seeing him, flourish and do as well as he is right now in the top 20. I played doubles with Taylor Fritz maybe 5 or 6 times, and obviously he's doing so well now at 11 in the world. And just being able to, I've been around the tour quite a while, so being able to kind of give any kind of tips that they've asked me about, and just hints as far as schedule is concerned, and should they play doubles a certain week, and different things that I think as a young player are important to understand, and about being professional as well. I feel like I've tried to kind of get my little tidbits, and that's what I'm looking to do here with this tournament. Bring guys together, have some fun with it, and just let guys really just have a good time.
So with the format of the All-American Cup, you have Team East and you have Team West, and you probably have already seen that Bryce, myself, and Isaac, we have our own teams that we've adopted. So I have Team East, who I've nicknamed Team Showtime, and Isaac has Team West that he has nicknamed Team Scrappy. But I have a question specifically for my team because I think this player would have been on my team. Why don't I see Tommy Paul?
Yeah. Tommy has been he's been all about the tournament. I mean, he's been extremely excited. One of those things where he's been doing so well, right? I mean, Tommy Paul is also, I think now he's maybe around 30 in the world, something like that, and he's been doing so well. So he's had a full schedule. He went to Labor Cup, he went to Davis Cup, and so after the Paris Masters, he said, look, man, I got to take 1 week vacation just to kind of, get away from tennis. And then now that the USA is in the finals of Davis Cup, he wanted to just be able to have a week off and then be able to go into Davis Cup, kind of a little bit refreshed, because then after Davis Cup is straight into preseason. So for Tommy, between Tommy and his coach Brad Stein, that was kind of their feeling as far as, look, let's try to have 1 week that maybe we take off here, and that's between the team, that's what they decided, and you have to respect it too, because obviously he's been doing so well, and he's such he literally, I'll tell you this, from day one he's been like, I'm playing. And another guy that we don't have on East is Riley Opelka, and I think, as most people know, he had hip surgery, and so he's out until kind of beginning of next year. So between Tommy and Riley, those are another two guys that you have on the East Coast that could obviously do some serious damage for the team. But it's still obviously an unreal team with Isner and Tiafoe, Sock, Kula, and Wolf. But, those are two guys that also could be involved with Team East in the future.
Absolutely. No, that's good to hear. And I'm happy that you explained that, because that's one of the things Bryce and I went back and forth on is, where's Tommy and where's Riley? So very, very happy for that clarification, Nick.
Yep. No, absolutely.
Yeah. And then
as far as the West is concerned, one guy that is on the West is Nakashima, and he has next gen final, which is the same week as our tournament. So that was another guy who was complete, he's all about the tournament completely in. So now after this year, he, will not be, part of the next gen final just because of age and whatnot. So then he would be a part of it going into next year as well. So just to clarify, kind of a few guys that maybe people are like, where is this guy or that guy? They've been completely in from day one, and whether it's injury or next gen final, those were the reasons. So
can I just quickly ask Isaac before you come back in?
Yeah.
What about Korda?
So Korda is another guy that he also wants to play. So we're still in conversation with him that, look, like, we try to get him in there if we can. And Korda is another guy who would be on Team East. So Team East would be Team East is pretty stacked on that side. So, with Korda, again, it's scheduling, right? Everyone kind of has particular schedules, they feel is best for their game at that time. He's another guy that will be on Team East, if not this year, going into the future for sure.
And I guess Nick, from a timing perspective, do you think that this is where the All-American Cup will land consistently going forward? Okay, so it won't potentially go back to September as you were initially thinking?
No, absolutely. This is the time it's going to land. We've already solidified HEB Center in Cedar Park, Texas, which is about 20 minutes from Austin. We've already solidified that weekend. So it's going to be Veterans Weekend leading into every year moving forward, which is perfect for an All-American Cup, right? So we've solidified the venue in Cedar Park, 20 minutes from Austin for next year.
And what drove the decision to go back and forth? And you may have alluded to this, but what made the decision to do San Antonio, then Austin, and kind of go back and forth between the two?
Well, I mean, there's so many tennis fans in both locations, right? And it's only an hour away, but by the same token, Austin is where I live. So for me, personally, it's like, well, I kind of wanted to have it in my city, and I have, a bunch of friends that are going to come to San Antonio, but also, additional sponsors here in Austin that would love to see it here,
Yeah.
to give their extra sponsorship in this area. And also by the same token, again, 3 of our main sponsors are San Antonio based. So just to, make sure that we kind of solidify both cities and sponsorships and all the fan bases from both areas. And I think that between both cities, everyone's going to have a great time.
And of course, it was an awesome choice for you to pick the Bryan brothers to be the captains of these 2 teams. I mean, that was just natural.
Yeah.
So I believe both of them are from California.
Yep.
So how did you who got the East?
So that's interesting that you asked that, because I Bob Bryan was the first call that I made, because most people maybe don't know this, but Bob Bryan lives in Florida and Mike Bryan lives in California. So I thought, man, this could work because they live on opposite sides of the U.S. Right? And so these are 2 guys that obviously have been on the same side of the court ever since they've been little kids, and they're 2 of the most competitive individuals you ever meet. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, obviously I played against them quite a few times, but I practiced them a lot. And the stories I have just even in practice, like if Mike Bryan will miss a volley, Bob Bryan was hitting a ball in his back. Like, how do you miss that volley? Like, these guys are 2 of the most, and it's literally practice. Like, no one cares. No one's really even watching. And we're at the French Open and Mike Bryan's like literally pelleting him in the back, with the ball. And I'm like, no one cares, but they're just so competitive. And so for them now to be on opposite sides of the court is just going to be something that I think, people are going to be excited to watch. Again, Bob Bryan was able to, due to Marty having some kind of COVID issues, Marty Fish having COVID issues for Davis Cup, Bob Bryan stepped in for Davis Cup, and, the guys really enjoyed and loved having him there. So again, for the American players, they all look up to Bob and Mike, and they just, they can't wait to be a part of the team and have those guys captaining them.
Nice. And just from a reaction standpoint of the competition between the 2, have they kind of done anything specific at this point?
Oh yeah. Well, I guess if you look, so the format basically is Friday with 4 matches is 1 point. Saturday 4 matches again. Each match is 2 points, and then on Sunday we have 3 matches. Each match is 4 points. And so it's funny, kind of the banter that's been going back and forth between these guys. Like, basically, Bob's been telling Mike, he's like, well, leading into Sunday, he's like, look, we have a doubles match, and who's going to beat Sock and Isner on Sunday? He's like, he's like, Mike, what doubles team do you have that's gonna? He's like, that's 4 points for me right there. So basically the banter that's been going back and forth as far as matchups and, these kinds of things has been funny, and I tell you, man, they are so competitive. Again, I was with them at the U.S. Open, and we're doing a pro-am, with the USTA Foundation for about 2 hours, and they're like 2 courts away, like talking about their team and this kind of stuff. Like it was hilarious. It was hilarious. So I think I really do think people are really going to enjoy just kind of their competitive edge. Obviously, so they're also doing the player party. They have a band, the Bryan Brothers band. So they're going to be performing at the player party on Thursday night. And the players going to be there. We've got Rick Soto clothing company here out of Austin, Texas. It's going to be fitting the guys with suits. We have Helm boots that's giving the guys it's giving each guy 2 pairs of boots for their suits. We've got Oakley that stepped in to help the players with sunglasses. So we've got a lot of really cool sponsors and people that want to just be involved to make it fun for the players, for the fans, and obviously the captains are kind of second to none. So it'll be fun.
Right. So for people that will not be in the San Antonio area, this is being covered by the Tennis Channel, right?
Yes, it is. Being covered by the Tennis Channel. I've been with them now 2 years, and they're excited to have it. So basically, we have 2 sessions. One session at 2:30, one session at 7. Our 2:30 session will be on Tennis Channel T2 and TC Plus, and then our 7 o'clock session will be on the main linear network. And then we also have Mike Russell and Ryan Harrison coming into San Antonio to commentate for the matches. Those will be yeah, those will be our commentators for the matches. And then, so it'll be great just to have those guys, which, they obviously know all the players, and they've, Michael Russell coaching Taylor Fritz, Ryan Harrison, obviously, still playing great tennis, playing on the challenger level, but he'll be back on the ATP before you know it. So two guys that obviously know every player. So just bringing that extra insight to what's happening, and probably, I'm sure, some personal stories will be told in there as well.
Nice. Very nice. And Nick, so we've been talking about sort of the forward facing parts of the tournament. This is actually your, I guess, at least I'm going to assume this is your first endeavor of stepping out there, being a tournament director. Talk to us about sort of the behind the scenes, and what are the things that you, at this point, even though the event has not even started yet, what are the things that you've encountered, either challenges or otherwise, and learnings that you have kind of, that you've taken already?
Well, I mean, how much time do we have? I mean, it's literally been, it's like learning a new craft, right? It was the same thing with Tennis Channel. When I kind of first went in there, I'd never commentated before, but I knew the players and I knew the stories I could tell, and it was, and I knew the game, or I know the game. So it was kind of studying the craft in a way, right? You got to study it. So yeah, look, before I even started with the tournament, I reached out to Carl Hale, the tournament director for Toronto, good friend of mine, and just kind of tried to figure out the odds and ends of what I might not know from specific tournaments. So yeah, it's been interesting. Like I said, we're doing the Freeman Coliseum. So look, first thing you got to do is find a court. So that's been an interesting endeavor. We actually were able to go through World Team Tennis to kind of, there's certain companies, whether it be World Team Tennis or, in Dallas, they have a specific court that they own that they were using for their ATP event. So long story short, what we did was, I have some good connections with World Team Tennis. So we found a court through them that we're able to bring in from California. So, we're literally transporting the court from California to San Antonio, and then painting the court the way that we want it, with a darker blue in the middle and the red on the outside, and obviously the red, white, and blue to go with the All-American Cup. And then just, obviously getting the umpires involved and ball kids, and making sure that the chair umpire has a tablet for the scores and things like that. Things as a player you don't even think about. Like, I just go out there and I play the match, right? I don't think about the chair umpire having a tablet, right? So right. I'm like, I guess I got to figure out who has the tablet so that I can go find that for him, So little things like that have come to light. And then who's going to do the lighting in the venue? Is actually even a few days ago. We have a production company. We have the commentators or whatever. And a few days ago, someone reached out and was like, "Well, who's going to do your lighting and that kind of stuff in the venue?" And I was like, I don't know. Doesn't the venue do that? And so we literally had to find another company who's going to do that kind of stuff. So we have everything together. We're a month and a week away. So everything is in place to make this very special. And but needless to say, it's been a learning process. But the good thing is that when I first got this idea, I reached out to a good friend of mine, Chadwick Bird. He owns Tennis Ventures, which is a all-inclusive tennis vacation company. So he takes groups to the slams. He takes groups to Australia, French, Wimbledon, Rome, Barcelona. They now do a trip to Rafa's Academy. So, basically, if anyone goes on a trip with Tennis Ventures on one trip, they've been on every trip, So kind of, I met him 10 years ago. They became a sponsor of mine, and it's gone from a sponsor to a friendship to we're brothers now. It's family, So right. He was kind of the first guy I reached out to and said, "Look, what do you think about this idea?" And I know you're in the vacation business, but maybe we can kind of figure out a way to get into the tournament business. And so we came together, and then we said, look, we obviously need to make a team around this. And so then we brought along Tim Stollard, who has been doing events forever. I would say, I don't know exactly how many years, but probably 25, 30 years, where he does a ton with the Bryans, Steve Johnson, Sam Querrey. He does a lot of exhibitions. He just started Alina Svitolina's foundation about a year and a half ago. And so, he's definitely our event guy that kind of is like, oh, wait, we need this, we need that. And we're like, okay, really? Okay, great. Thanks for telling us. Like, we didn't know those kinds of things. So he's done a ton of those things. And then we also brought along Reed Ryan, who is Nolan Ryan's son. He was the president of the
Oh,
he was the president of Houston Astros for about 10 years. And now has his own company called RS3. So it's Reed Sanders Baseball. So he's into baseball and rodeos. They build ballparks. They do events. And so, yeah, so now amongst that team, right, we have a good core of people that, with me knowing the players and kind of what tennis tournament should be, in my opinion, and then
Mhm.
going on with Chadwick Bird, who does his vacations and knowing all of that side of thing, and then Tim Stoll and Reed Ryan. So great team, and wouldn't want to be in business with anyone else other than those guys for sure.
that is incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, as we're starting to ramp up our excitement for the All American Cup, like I said, I've got the East, Isaac's got the West. We're looking at, talking to the captains sometime
Yeah,
soon, and
absolutely.
probably even some of the players to kind of help
Yeah.
build some of the hype. But what
Yep.
I wanted to do before we ended this talk, is there anything that you wanted to share with our audience about the cup, about their viewing of it, anything at all?
Yeah, you know what? Look, again, the whole premise for me again was just going back to kind of celebrating American tennis. Like we're obviously this ends up being kind of the perfect timing with Francis and Taylor and all these guys doing so well. But this idea came to fruition even before that, a couple of years ago, and I just think it's showing the guys a lot of love, right? They have so much energy on the court. They love being a part of a team. If it's Davis Cup or Labor Cup, you kind of see the team stuff on TV. You see that energy that's amazing, and I think that showing these guys the love and again, it just kind of helps also bring tennis to the forefront in the U.S., right, and around the world. Just being able to watch these guys. So I think, if anything, I just want people to be able to enjoy the tennis, enjoy the energy, come out to San Antonio, have some fun. We're going to have a lot of games out there, live music, DJs. It's going to be a full-on event. And that's what I want people to enjoy. And I think if anyone saw Francis Tiafoe at U.S. Open, he's a ball. I've never seen somebody walk into a room and just light up the room every time he goes somewhere. So for him to, he's can't wait to be a part of this. So for people just to come out and enjoy it is what it's all about.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, Nick, we are extremely excited about the All American Cup. It could not be led by a better person. We have
Yeah.
definitely enjoyed our interactions with you. Not only that, as a player and now as a tournament director, we are very impressed with what you are doing. And we just say, keep it up and keep it moving. Keep it going.
Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for your time, and let's go get it.
Oh, and before we leave, and I know we mentioned this in some of our correspondence, but for our listeners, we would still love your assistance in getting a souvenir shirt from the event that is signed by all of the players that we can have as a giveaway for our fans.
Absolutely.
So you
Yeah.
heard it from the tournament director there, y'all. There's a
Well,
gift for a very lucky somebody coming after the event.
no, absolutely. We'll make that happen. And again, with the Bryan brothers, our biggest thing is this is going to be a staple on the calendar for Americans. At the end of the year, a team event. So yeah, we'll get that shirt signed, and that'll be for all the fans for sure.
Oh, that is awesome. So, on behalf of the podcast, thank you so much, Nick, for joining us and giving us more information on the All American Cup. And to our listeners, you will see plenty more from Isaac and I on this cup, but stay tuned, mark it on your calendar, and let's support this awesome new event. So goodbye from Bryce and Isaac, and Nick. We will talk to you later.
Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Bye
Have a
bye
good
now.
one. Thanks, guys.